Welcome back to Blackacre Ranch, everyone. Finishing up some chores right now before we proceed to some other stuff. We're here with the wee babies. You've been checking those guys out, getting the water going, and of course they're just watching what we're doing. So last time we were putting these all in by hand. That sucked, and I was whining about it. Person in the comments mentioned you should get a 1/2-inch drill impact. I have one. Totally spaced it. So we're just putting these things in, buttoning this thing up so I can check it off the to-do list because everything else is crowding it out. So they have made some progress on a lot of this stuff. The babies are doing well. We're filling up the water. The water comes from the hose from the tank just right there. So that's our well tank. And that's where all the water's at. That's where we can pump it out of from the ground. But it's close enough that we're able to get water from there directly into here. It's a little slow. Obviously we want to get a pump going. We want to get all that kind of stuff going up there. Again, electric, right? Just have to do that. But this water is going to be a lot cleaner than the other stuff, so we're happy about that. I realize that this has probably been a little while since we really focused on the main herd and how they're doing. We've seen the yearlings doing that 2.5 acre pen. We've talked about some of the electrical and the water lines that are still going on and are still going on. Let's follow the main herd, see how Ahmed is doing with his little chickies, and see how they're doing health-wise, because this drought's a beast and we're all trying to make it through it. Last year we got slaughtered when it came to body condition of the animals. So body condition is a measure of looking at the animal, a visual inspection of their health. Okay, if they're super skinny, anorexic, emaciated, over to fat, chubby, chunky, whatever you want to call it. Okay, if they're too low on the scale, then they have difficulty getting pregnant, all sorts of other things. If they're too high on the scale, you can kind of say the same thing. So obviously you want them looking fit and fiddle. So I'm going to do a video some other time, maybe in the near future, about body condition scoring and how that's done. So that way, there's a lot of misconceptions, I think, when the average person, even myself years ago, would look at a buffalo and say, hell, that looks good. Well, it doesn't. Or, you know, it's too skinny or it's too fat. And last year we just got really hit with that. And that may be partly why we're struggling with breeding and getting calves. Along those lines, over the last number of weeks, we've been looking at these animals. They've been looking good, but this last week, was it? I think it was. I started looking out at them and there's like 3, 4, 5 that I'm like, oh, that starts getting a rubbing you wrong kind of a thing. And we have not wormed these animals as a collective group since last year, about the same time frame, because we didn't have a chance and the ability to work them over the winter. So in the shoot. So we've darted a few over time, and I like the darting process, but since it had been so long since we actually done anything, we decided to just go buy a bunch of the cubes, Safeguard cube pellets. You can get them from your farm store. And we did the entire herd. You hope to reverse the trend which you started seeing, and so we're just keeping an eye on them. And then any of the few stragglers that we don't think got enough or that start continuing to show signs, we'll just dart those individually. You know, I checked on hay prices. They're upwards of $80 to $100 a bale, which it could be worse. Problem is you just can't find it anymore. I'd have to drive 8 hours to go pick up some of this stuff. But it's making it hard on these females, and you know, it stresses them out. They spend a lot of their time in the shade. They regulate themselves that way. They're doing fine, but they don't have a lot of energy to want to just go take off. And so you want to make sure that they're hopefully in optimal health, boy and girls, so that way they have the energy even despite these conditions to actually procreate, mate, do stuff. So every once in a while I see Bartok, I don't say him, but Ahmed over there, he'll check out some chick, start walking around with her and court her. We're seeing that he's doing that more this year than he did last year. And last year we knew that we'd maybe have a hard pressed time to get many babies. I'm still hopeful, but they're doing a lot better. On just a side note, body condition scoring, it is a work of art. It's really easy to somebody say, oh, well, this is this and this is that. Well, it's not necessarily. So anyway, take a lot of things with a grain of salt. I want to just do a separate video where I can do a little bit more attention at that later on. If you want to hear about it, feel free to put it in the comments, and I'll try and make sure that we squeak it in there and get everything that we need on that said. So for any of you guys looking to start your own herd, there's a point at which feed costs are huge, okay? They're just massively astronomical, okay? So the hard part I have found over doing this for now almost 2 years is that you have to kind of figure out how much they eat given the kind of ground that you have. So, you know, there's a lot of things that we could do. We could go over and get ourselves a big hay wagon, gravity feed bin, and just go dump a ton of corn and grains, oats, barley, all that kind of stuff in it, and just leave it out here for free choice, okay? They're not gonna overeat. They keep themselves all great. You still gotta watch, because those things, it could be $2,000, depending on the size of it, $2,000, $2,500 just to fill the thing up once. And then how fast are they gonna eat it? And they're gonna prefer it more than the hay, so then they're gonna end up eating that more than the hay would be otherwise. And it costs probably, for 1,000 bales, a 1,000-pound bale of hay, I got mine at 60 bucks. So call that what? 6 cents a pound, I think it is. You know, you might be paying 20 cents a pound for just some of that oats, corn, barley mixes and so forth like that. So I mean, that's like 4 times as much. So when things are going on right now with the drought and hay prices are going crazy, corn, oats, barley, all prices are going crazy, you have limited margins. So as you're starting the herd, is trying to figure out how much you need to feed to give them the optimal amount without wasting money and just giving them more than they need. Yes, they're not going to overeat, but they may selectively choose the more expensive option as opposed to the less expensive option. So there's a balancing act, guys. I know there's other options we could be doing, but it's also a lot of money. And when margins are tight right now, we're just trying to balance that in and dial it in and get it figured out. And it might take a little bit, and so we're doing that. We've upped the cubes. We now feed them over about 900 pounds of cubes a week. You can do a lot of options to feed animals. It's what makes sense. Are you doing too much, spending your money needlessly? So you just gotta figure out what your property allows. So the sucky part about that whole yearling move is the fact that I'm going through all that brush and those tall weeds and all that other stuff in pasture one. All the scratches that are on our truck, which are just frankly, you know what, it's 7 years old, 150,000 miles. She gets a little love every once in a while, but the problem sucked was we blew a tire. So going home, all of a sudden, pressure keeps dropping and dropping, the warning thing comes on. Anyway, somehow in there, I don't know what I hit, but I blew the sidewall out slow enough that I could get home, but fast enough that it was completely dead, like flat, within a little bit of time. So if you get new tires and you're on a ranch that's like this, get the warranty. That's what I did, and I'm done. So anyway, it's just annoying. Number 4 is our long shot right now to have a baby. Her back end, her vulva's swollen a little bit. It's not astronomically huge. I haven't seen the milk bag. What do you call that?
Udders.
Udders, yeah, thanks. So, haven't seen that really fill up, although it's really hard. You don't see that a lot in buffalo, but anyway, she's our long shot right now. We'll see. You know, I'm only gonna get really, really worried if it's like August 30th. We had some babies all the way up to the middle of August last year. Nice little herd, they're fun, they're cute, but yeah, that's them. But since we're talking about all this nutrition and all this worming and BCS, body condition scoring, let's go figure out our hay thing, right? I've talked about the hay, let's go get our hay. So we've done a video before on why we take hay samples. You really just wanna make sure that there's enough protein content in the feed that they're getting. Again, back to the whole health condition scoring. If they're getting enough nutrients, then they can both maintain and grow their own body, lactate, and or be sexually active. Is that the right way to say it? Anyway, whatever. So, and right now is with the rut and everything else, they need protein. So they need at least 8 to 10% protein, and they're going to consume about 2.5% of their body weight every day, maybe 3. We just need to make sure there's enough good quality hay. So this is what we have. We have a hay core sampler, and it goes on, and pretty much all it is it's a drill. So there's a tip, and it's a hollow tube all the way down, and you hook it up to your drill, and it comes down in, and it spits it all out back here. And there's a plunger, you just put all the rest back in, and it drops out. So really we're gonna just take samples from multiple pieces of bale, or multiple bales. If I can get it on this stupid thing. There we go. So we're just gonna get some samples, send them off to a lab, get it tested, and see kind of what we're dealing with. From that, we can then figure out, do we have enough on its own, how much supplementation we need, which is a whole other conversation, which I kind of alluded to earlier. So it's all just making sure you're dialing in how much nutrition you're providing versus how much they're needing, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, enough of your beer wrapper. Talk. Let's drill. All right, so we've got these sandwich bags. Are these quart? They're not quite big enough to go over the whole thing, so, which is fine. So what I'm gonna just do is have this up, and you know, there's enough in the tube. I'm not really worried about it. So anyway, but you would ideally maybe put it around the whole thing and it just falls in. So make do with what you got, or do without. So that's kind of what you do. All right. So we take a plunger, feel like D'Artagnan. And there's one sample of hay. We get another. Now, if you're going to sit there and say, well, you know, you're supposed to have X, Y, Z, you're supposed to do whatever. Honestly, the whole main point, guys, is just get a portion of this, ideally through a good sampling all the way through the hay as much as you can, and just get it in the bag. That's all you got to do. Just put it in the bag. So I'm only going to really do 2 samples. The hay came in 8 loads, sorry. So this was the latter half. I'm just going to do one down there and just compare the two. You have a bag?
Under my arm.
Waste not. And I will say, guys, not all hay is created equal, and especially this year, we're going to have to watch that. So really, if you're not testing your hay, I'd highly advise it unless it's somebody you really know and you know how they're keeping track of monitoring and doing their fields. So there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say it's X, Y, Z, and it's not. Like, is it fertilized? It's not. I bet you most any hay right now, don't listen to anybody that it's fertilized. It's not. Fertilizer hay costs are like through the roof. So, all right, we got those 2. Let's see where we're at. We're gonna send this in, get some samples. I'll let you know what it comes back at. But yeah, that's all it is. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Just mark them which one was which, and go from there. All right, guys, the herd's looking good. We wanted to make sure you got to see them some, see their progress, and keep always on tabs with what's going on. So it had been just a little while. So we're gonna keep watching over them, checking their food, and like I've said before, dial it in. I've had a law professor, I swear, that all he would say is, you know, dial it in, dial it in. That was like his buzzword, man. It's like stuck in my head. Didn't learn a thing else from his class, but I know how to dial it in. Anyway, so this is the pasture the yearlings came off of, and besides the little green fuzz that we got on the ground, which is amazing, we're gonna clean it up, move some troughs around, get it prepped for all these next projects. So if you're new to the channel, this is 187 acres, building a bison ranch from scratch. This used to be a church camp compound summer thing for kids, and then it was abandoned for 2 decades. So we're building this all. We've got the handling facility, we've got the alleyway to go up the squeeze chute. We got to finish up before November. It's going to happen before then. We've got all the pipes to lay in the ground for all the irrigation on this side, finished fencing for all 2 acres over here. There's going to be another 40 acres of pasture that's going to be available. You know, the more land we can get ready for these animals and available, the better. So anyway, guys, we appreciate you joining along. Leave a comment. Feel free to help out the channel if you feel so inclined, despite everything that's going on. You know, send money. Cash is preferred. I'm sarcastic, guys, all right? But yes, you can send cash, but there's also a Patreon, or if you want any merchandise, it's on the account at spring.com, and they handle all those details and everything. So we appreciate you just being here. So until next time, guys, we'll talk to you later. Bye.